Hey guys and gals, happy October once again. Bored now, back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Slumber Party Massacre 3, which came out in 1990. So this completes the original trilogy, which I've been doing over the past couple of Octobers. There is one more movie which is like a loose remake of the original movie, so I'll be getting to that later in the month, but for today I'm completing the original trilogy, if you like. So I watched this on stream the other night. It was a first time watch for me, and I would definitely say it's the weakest of the original three. It was pretty lame overall. There were one or two moments which I quite enjoyed, and there was some goofy fun to be had towards the end, but overall I just didn't get into it as much. I didn't think the characters were as good. I thought the horror scenes were a bit lamer. Like it was very cheap. There was some crap looking CGI type deaths, and there was a lot of cutting around things and just a lot of pointless characters and kind of padding. It just didn't have the sense of fun or the sense of gore or like the personality of the other two films. If you go back to my other reviews, I definitely preferred 2 to 1, which I know is a little bit of a hot take, but I did like how wild that film got at times and how it played with things. And the first one is definitely a solid slasher which sets out its store quite nicely. But yeah, this one, the characters were really forgettable and it lacked any real sort of personality, and it just dragged on. And apart from a couple of like entertaining, so bad they're good type moments, it really didn't have enough to like grab me. The opening titles were quite fun, I will say that, because the opening titles had this very much like a school yearbook type feel to them, with like the way it sort of laid out the pictures of like the main characters and you had like their names next to it, and there was just something about the style of it which had a very, like, as I said, school yearbook sort of like throwback type feel. So I did quite enjoy the opening. Now there are a couple of different links to the original, to the other two movies as well, so this does feel like a trilogy where it is at least partly tied into it. But the opening scene, like the first proper scene, is like a volleyball scene where it sets up the various characters not very well, but that is one of the crappiest volleyball scenes I've ever seen. Like, these was such bad volleyball players. But there's this weird moment in this volleyball scene where one of the main characters appears to bump into the camera, and the idea is that she's bumping into like this guy, and I wasn't quite sure if that moment was like so brilliant because they had her bumping into the cameraman and it just looked like really authentic, like she was actually hitting the guy, or if it was just like this mistake which they just left in the movie. But it was something anyway that I thought, okay, that makes me wonder if that was an accident, if that was meant to be in the movie. But you sort of think this was very Karate Kid. Like this opening scene, I was definitely getting some vibes of like the beach party scene in Karate Kid. And yeah, the scene was just going nowhere. Like, you had some terrible characters. You had this weirdy, creepy guy who looked like really an extra from Charmed, and the way he stood out in like the black and the leather, and just how he was leering at everyone for like ages. And the scene lasted way too long, and it wasn't the strongest introduction to these characters. The first kill was pretty decent, like the way it came out of nowhere in the back of this car with like the drill going through the seats and going through the throat. Once again, it's very light on gore, this movie. There's a lot of cutting around. But I mean, that wasn't a bad first kill, and it at least came in the first 10 minutes. But after that, it really took forever to get to like more of the tension and the horror stuff and the actual kills, and in the end, the way it played out, it dragged it out so long, and the characters just weren't that entertaining or that interesting to watch, so it really made it a slog of the movie. And unfortunately, when it finally got to the big horror scenes, they weren't really worth watching, and it didn't really give you that fun murder mystery type vibe of some of the other movies. And then you get this super cheesy scene with the main girls in like a car, and they're on the top bit, some of them, and you've got this really cheesy type song, and because of the fashions, it sort of reminded me very much of Beverly Hills 90210 and the sort of song they were like jamming to. And it's like, yeah, have I stumbled upon the wrong kind of movie here? Have I actually accidentally turned it on to CBS All Access by mistake and I'm watching Beverly Hills 90210? I was starting to wonder that. And all the girls just have terrible taste in men. Like, the men did, like, nothing to really grab you and think, yeah, he's a decent guy, or he has something about him. Like, the girls just had terrible, terrible taste in men. Now, the main girl was giving me, like, a mix between Kelly Taylor and Kyle out of the Child's Play movies. Like, it was almost a cross between those two characters, because she had that kind of hair and the sort of features, and yeah, it just seemed like a cross between those two characters for me. And as things went on, there was just like rubbish character after rubbish character. Of course, the nerdy, pervy guy turned out to be called Morgan, because that's the sort of name you would give like someone who's a nerd and someone who's very lonely and very pervy, and you get a bunch of red herrings like him. Also, he appears to have ladies' glasses for some reason, and yeah, the red herrings were just really bad in this. Now, I know Cindy, I'll give Cindy a shout out, because she said one of these characters, one of the actors for, I think the character's name was Oliver, but according to his own, I think it's his own IMDb page, but like, he's famous now for doing designs in The Simpsons, so painting on jeans or something like that, or a jacket, she said, and that's from his own Wikipedia page or IMDb page. Hey, if it comes from the IMDb page, who am I to argue from? But he might have made it up, people. That's all I can say. And then when we get into the horror, like, the killer is pretty lame, or like the red herring. So Russell said it, like, the killer almost feels like Halloween, like Michael Myers reborn, and that's pretty funny. I can see what he means. There's a scene with the killer randomly jumping off like a trash can. There's a couple of different killers, by the way. And you also get this really random scene with a guy who pays a pizza delivery girl for her shirt. And it's so that he can deliver a pizza so he can get into the party. But just to carry on the farce, he then stays for pretty much the rest of the movie. And the stupid idiot later on, because he blends into the background and occasionally he'll just do something which is quite obnoxious. I think his name's Oliver. But like, it's just so farcical, and this guy then just sticks around for pretty much the rest of the movie, even though he has no character, and it was just this random plot to get him into the party. But then the dumb son of a bitch actually answers the door, and this is at the time where they finally know that there's someone out there. Some wacky stuff later in the movie which is quite entertaining. It also really drags, and these characters are just so dumb, whereas in the other two movies I think I did find it quite impressive. Like, I did quite like how tough the lead females were and how they started to fight back. But these girls, although they fight back a little bit, they do make dumb decisions after dumb decisions throughout the back half of this movie. Like, they have so many opportunities to get out of this house. And there's even a scene where they go down to the basement, and it's at the point where they finally want to get out of the house. But it's like, yeah, couldn't they have picked like a nearer exit type thing? But they're actually trying to get out of the window. And then there's stuff with them hitting the guy with like lampshades, which is fair enough. I mean, he should have a concussion or something, because he gets hit with it at least twice, I think, maybe 3 times. But why not just pick up a sharp object? Why not attack him with something like that if you've got the opportunity? But they just keep making dumb decisions. There's this whole sequence where he gets blinded, where they actually put, like, one of them puts something liquid in like some water and throws it in his face. So fair enough, he's blinded, but then they just take an eternity to kill him after that as well. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I just think at that point, you do one of two things. You either just get a sharp object and kill him, or you could knock him out, I guess, if you're a bit squeamish about killing the guy, but at least knock him out. Or you just get out of the house. I mean, you've never had a better opportunity than the guy being blinded. So they just make some really dumb decisions in this. It gets really farcical. There's this really like cringe-worthy scene which is dated really bad, where one of the girls tries to seduce the guy, like one of the killers, and she's doing it to try and like sucker him in and so she can maybe kill him, but it's not the best idea. It's like dicing with death, and ultimately a CGI version of her gets like stabbed, and it actually goes through her. And I mean, who knew she was an AI? But that turned out to be another dumb decision. And again, it's one of those cringe type scenes where it's of the time. It's like, okay, it's an excuse for a bit more flesh. There's been plenty of flesh throughout the movie. And there is like a kind of a silly like family connection to the main girl and the killer. One of the killers, Billy, does at least have some fun lines like, "You're not being very nice," and she's like, "Fuck you," and then things like, "Billy's got a surprise for you, come and get it," and he's hamming it up quite well. So there's a couple of fun lines like that when he's finally revealed. I enjoyed the previous 2 movies. I didn't really enjoy this one. It was very, very lame. So Slumber Party Massacre 3, definitely the weakest of the original trilogy for me. I'm going to give it 4 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of the movie in the comments below. Like and subscribe. You can hit me up with a super chat. You can also support me for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com/borednow, and you will get some special perks for that as well. But yeah, thanks guys. Hope you're enjoying October. See you again soon.